What if I tell you that Raksha Bandhan is not only about a brother protecting his sister? Sometimes a tiny piece of cloth can become a promise that lasts forever. This drawing is about that promise. A promise between Krishna and Draupadi, a piece of cloth tied around a wounded hand, and a bond that later became one of the most emotional moments of the Mahabharata. And today I am going to draw the story for Raksha Bandhan. In this scene, Draupadi is tying a piece of her own cloth around Krishna's injured hand. And years later, when Draupadi finds herself in one of the darkest moments of her life, Krishna becomes the one who protects her. So while I create this painting, I want to tell you the story behind it and also explain why I chose this particular scene for Raksha Bandhan. For this artwork, I am using my A4 size art paper. This is the normal art paper that use in my every single drawing. This is a very affordable paper, the paper that you generally use for your projects work for school and colleges. And I'm using Dome's oil pastel 50 shades. So first I'm starting with Draupadi's hand, and then I will gradually move to the Krishna's hand. For pencil I am using Artline pencil. You can use any type of pencil that you have. I wanted the painting to have a very bright, vibrant Indian look, so I have used a lot of red and green. The red represents the strength and emotion of Draupadi, while the green gives the painting a festive and traditional feeling. And now let's get into the story. Long before the famous incident of Draupadi's Vastraharan, there was a beautiful bond between Krishna and Draupadi. They were cousins, friends, and in many retellings their relationship is described as something much deeper than an ordinary family relationship. Draupadi lovingly called Krishna Sakha, her friend, and Krishna always considered Draupadi very close to his heart. There is a popular story connected with this bond. One day, Krishna's hand was injured and started bleeding, and Draupadi saw it. She didn't stop to think about whether her clothes would get damaged. She simply tore a piece of cloth from her own garment and tied it around Krishna's hand. It was such a small thing, just a piece of cloth, no big ceremony, no expensive gifts, no elaborate ritual, just one person seeing another person in pain and immediately helping them. And that's exactly what I wanted to capture in this drawing. Look at this part of my drawing. I specifically wanted this cloth to be very noticeable because for me that little piece of cloth represents something much bigger. It represents care, it represents trust, and most importantly, it represents a promise. Now I am drawing the face of Draupadi. It's like a Loomis method. I have divided into 3 parts and then I am continuing the figure. According to the popular retelling, Krishna never forgot that small act of love from Draupadi. And this is what makes this story so beautiful. Because sometimes we think love has to be expressed through something huge. But it doesn't. Sometimes it can be as simple as helping someone when they are hurt. Draupadi didn't know what the future would bring. She didn't tie that cloth because she expected something in return. She simply saw Krishna bleeding and helped him. And years later, Draupadi herself would need someone to stand beside her. And that brings us to one of the most heartbreaking moments of the Mahabharata. The Pandavas lost everything in the infamous dice game, their kingdom, wealth, and eventually Draupadi was dragged into the royal court. She was surrounded by powerful men who were supposed to protect her, but one by one they remained silent. Draupadi questioned the entire assembly. She asked how she could have been treated as someone's property after her husband had already lost himself in the game. But instead of receiving justice, she was humiliated, and there came the moment that is remembered even today. Dushasana attempted to disrobe Draupadi. At first, Draupadi tried to protect herself. She tried to hold to her clothing. She looked around the court. She looked towards the elders. She looked towards the people who were supposed to stand up for her. But nobody came forward. And finally, when she realized that there was no human being left to depend on, she surrendered herself completely to Krishna. She called out to him not because Krishna was physically standing there in the court, but because she trusted him completely. And then, according to Mahabharata, Krishna protected her through the miraculous endless cloth. And this is the reason I chose this particular scene for my Raksha Bandhan artwork. Look at the cloth in my painting. Today, Draupadi is tying a small piece of cloth around Krishna's injured hand. But in the story, that little piece of cloth becomes a symbol of something much greater. She gave Krishna a piece of her garment when he needed help, and later, when Draupadi needed protection, Krishna stood by her. It's almost like a circle. She gave without expecting anything, and when her darkest moment came, she wasn't forgotten. And that's what Raksha Bandhan means to me. Of course, Raksha Bandhan is traditionally celebrated as a festival where siblings express their love and promise to protect and support each other. But I think the emotion behind it is much bigger than just a Rakhi. Protection isn't always about being physically stronger. It can be emotional, it can be standing beside someone, it can be helping someone when they are struggling, it can be remembering someone's kindness, and even years later. I have completed my drawing. Now, before coloring, I have erased the lines, made it very light with a kneadable eraser. Now, starting with brown color, I am coloring Draupadi's hand. I have used brown, then orange, light orange, and light peach. These four colors you have to use for the hand, and then slowly you have to blend in a circular motion. I used my finger for some smaller areas. For bigger areas, I have used tissue paper like the background, and for very tiny details, I have used my paper stamp for blending purpose. I am using Dome's black color pencil for the detailing parts, because this you cannot do with oil pastel. For the cloth she is tying, I have used red. Then for Krishna's hand, I am using cerulean and sap green sky for the shading, and little bit of pink color for the inner palm. While I was making this painting, I kept thinking about one thing. We often remember the big things people do for us, but sometimes the smallest acts of kindness are the ones that stays with us forever. Draupadi didn't give Krishna gold. She didn't give him anything expensive. She simply saw that he was hurt and she helped him. And that's why I wanted the cloth to be the main visual element in my artwork. Because isn't just a fabric. In my painting, these clothes represent a bond of love, a bond of trust, and a promise of protection. The background that I am doing with deep green first, then slowly I am using leaf green in a lighter form. Then comes light green color and yellow green color. So you have to use 4 types of green for the background. After that, use lemon yellow and blend the lightest part. Use your tissue paper to blend all the green shades. From both the side, I have made it little darker, and the middle area will be lighter. After blending with tissue paper, use sap green and then again start with lemon yellow. Now in this left area I have used first lemon yellow, and then I will be using deep green color on top of it. You have to layer it because we have to scratch and take it off, because we are doing a peacock's feather on this area. After that use light green, and then with a scraper or any sharp tools scrap it off. Then use light blue, ultramarine yellow, orange for the peacock's feather. I am using a very sharp knife for the fine lines, and then sap green for the feather. Again continuing with the cloth, I have used red. After red I will be using vermilion to make it more prominent and brighter, and for the shading I will be using sap green. Now you will ask me why I am using sap green, because this is the complementary color of red. So if you use sap green, it will become dark brown color. As you can see, I have made a very big cloth which is helping Draupadi to hide herself, which Krishna is providing her. So this Raksha Bandhan, instead of thinking only about who will protect whom, maybe we can also ask ourselves, who have we protected? Who have we stood beside, and whose small act of kindness have we never forgotten? Because sometimes one small gesture can create a bond that lasts a lifetime. And finally, my Raksha Bandhan artwork is about to complete. Just the Draupadi part is left. I hope you like this little story of Krishna and Draupadi and the meaning I try to portray through this painting. If this artwork touched your heart, let me know in the comments who is the person you would always protect. And if you enjoyed watching me creating this artwork, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in my next artwork. Happy Raksha Bandhan, and till then enjoy the background music.